During that backswing, can you avoid tensing your arm at the moment of contact? If your arm is tense at contact, your fingers can't do their job to create friction. Alright, today we're going to work on the backhand loop against backspin. The backhand loop against backspin is a major challenge for amateur players. Many players are hesitant to initiate this attack. I usually teach the power loop, but today, let's focus on the technique to consistently get the ball on the table. See? That loop was incredibly spinny. Being able to loop backhand against backspin with a high arc is a true sign of skill. Your opponent's block will just fly off the table. Why is a loop to the forehand easier to block? Because they can close their racket over the ball. They can't control heavy spin on the backhand side. That's why attacking their backhand crosscourt is so hard for them to defend. Right now, your loop is too easy to block because it lacks spin. You're only converting backspin to topspin. The real goal is to make your loop so spinny that their block goes long. With a standard block, it should fly off the table. The reason your shot gets pushed down the line is because of how you're looping. I can just hold my racket angle and guide it straight. A common mistake amateurs make is simply lifting the ball with their backhand. You're lifting it like this, making it easy to block. It's not that your opponent is great, it's that your shot has no spin. A loop without spin is just asking to be pushed, blocked, or smashed. For example, I'll loop one to you. Just try a normal block. See? Even closing your racket, you can't control it. When I try to close my racket like this, the ball kicks up aggressively. So why isn't your loop spinny? It's because your racket face is too open in your backswing. Your backswing looks like this, which generates no spin. This is a scooping or lifting motion. To generate spin, we need to close the racket angle slightly in the backswing. By closing, I don't mean parallel to the floor. If vertical is 3 o'clock, I close it to about 1:30. This angle should be your initial point of contact. Watch, if I close the angle a bit, the ball immediately has more spin. You need to brush the upper middle part of the ball. If your racket face is open, you can only lift up. You can't drive forward. To grip the ball with solid friction, you must go forward. If you start with an open racket and go forward, your wrist ends up in an awkward, scooping position. So, to have a controlled racket face at contact that keeps the ball in, you must start with a slightly closed angle. This is the angle at contact, and this is the angle at the follow-through. If you open your racket face from the start, you have to cut your swing short, or the ball will go long. This applies to both forehand and backhand. Second point, the racket head. For the backhand loop, the racket head position is critical. This is an extremely important detail. Make the tip of your racket point towards your left foot. This will allow you to loop with heavy spin. Watch, racket tip to the left foot. It's very spinny. Do not let the racket tip point to the side or up. Everyone, this part of the racket should point to the tip of your left foot to generate friction. This way, your racket face can rotate through the ball, giving you the space to grip it and create spin. Many players just push or lift the ball with a locked racket head angle, which is the biggest problem. This problem prevents you from adding offensive spin to your backhand. For a backhand to be a true attack, it must have this level of quality. If you're just lifting the ball, you're better off just pushing, letting him attack, and practicing your block. Your error rate will be lower, because defense is always more consistent than offense. Third, let's discuss the timing of the friction. How can we make the loop easier and spinnier? You want to make contact right here. Watch carefully where I create the friction. The key is in your body position at contact. Your center of gravity is too high. You're not bending your knees or lowering your upper body. Because you're standing tall, you are contacting the ball from behind it. Contacting the ball from behind is completely different from my motion, where I get low and brush the ball from underneath. How do you get proper timing on your loops against backspin? You have to intercept the ball as you are executing your stroke. As my backhand or forehand moves up and forward, I meet the ball in the middle of that motion. That's how I can truly time the shot and brush it effectively. The backhand loop is difficult because most players are too high and contact the ball from behind. When you're behind the ball, it's already dropping while your racket is moving up and forward. You can't synchronize the forces. This is the reason for mistakes against all types of side spin and backspin. It's because you aren't waiting for the ball below its equator. and you aren't contacting it during your swing path. Instead, you are colliding with the ball from behind it. You don't have to squat as low as a pro, but even if your legs are straight, you must lower your upper body and your hand. As long as I contact the ball during my swing, the loop becomes easy. So my contact point is below the ball, while yours is behind it. Of course you can't apply force to the ball properly, because I'm lower than you are. When I swing up from below, I can meet the ball anywhere on that path and still generate power. Amateur players, however, are behind the ball, trying to forcefully pull it up, which is very difficult. This lifting method only works if the opponent's serves and pushes have no spin. Once they start putting heavy spin on the ball, you'll start hitting the net. Watch my backhand loop carefully. During my backswing, from your eye-level view, you can't even see my racket above the table. Only at the moment of contact does my racket appear above the table surface. During my backswing, my racket is hidden from your view. Why can I see an amateur's racket angle? Because they stand too tall and their backswing is high. So whether your racket is slightly open or closed, I can see it as your opponent. But you shouldn't be able to see mine. Now for the fourth point. Look at these two motions. Which one is correct? The first. The second. The second one is correct. So what's wrong with the first one? The problem with the first one is the elbow. For a normal backhand drive, our elbow is down, right? This is a correct backhand drive motion. But when you try to loop, you keep the same habit, and the ball goes into the net. Why is the second motion correct? Because it creates this arm structure. You lift the elbow to let the forearm drop. Try it. If your elbow is down, your hand comes up. If you lift your elbow, your hand can drop. The problem is that many amateurs have practiced the backhand drive for so long that they're used to the elbow pointing down. When they loop, they keep it down. With your elbow pointing down, your racket angle will be like this. And that's why you make errors. If your elbow points down, no matter how low you drop your arm, the motion is still a push. The problem is your elbow, it prevents your racket from dropping low enough. The banana flick is the clearest example. If you can loop a ball inside the table, why can't you loop one outside the table where you can use your full arm and body? Think of your regular backhand loop like a banana flick. You don't need the extreme wrist rotation, but you must drop the racket, forearm, and wrist to create space for spin. So for any backhand loop against backspin, I need to have this arm structure. Look, elbow up, forearm down. This is much easier. You want your arm like this, not like this. The same applies to penhold grip. It's just a bigger version of the banana flick. Look, my banana flick is like this. For a half-long ball, I just open up the motion a little. For a long ball, I make it even bigger. Because you've hit backhand drives for so long, you use that same motion for backspin, which only works against topspin balls. Then when you learn the flick, it looks like this. The elbow is disconnected from the motion. And then your loop looks like this. All players with a weak backhand share this problem. So, in your backswing, let your shoulder, elbow, and forearm drop down. Once that structure is set, generate friction from there. Your elbow acts as a pivot. Keep it stable and accelerate your forearm. That's how you loop the ball. I'll show you one. Watch my upper arm and elbow. If it's not stable, your whole motion will be shaky. Look, I keep it stable, and rotate the forearm. That's a spinny loop. Now I'll add some speed. The backhand is like a general drawing his sword. A general draws his sword like this. You have to understand that motion. You can't just raise your arm up like you're about to strike someone, that's ineffective. So you must feel the relationship between the elbow and shoulder I just described. Then, your forearm rotation and stroke will be much smoother. Now let's talk about the sequence of motion. I feel that amateurs lack the ability to produce two different feelings within one stroke. How am I able to power loop when I want to? It's because within a single stroke, I'm completing two actions. If the ball is very spinny, my priority is to lift it with a full looping motion. If it's not that spinny, I'll lift it and then immediately drive through it. The drive or power part must come after the lift or loop part. So the initial looping action is the most crucial part. What does that looping feel like? It feels like this. Drop the racket down, rotate the racket head. That's the feeling. Now, when you want to create friction, should you use a lot of force? No, you shouldn't. Your arm should be relaxed, because you can't just snap your wrist out in front. We practice the motion like this, but in a match, you need a backswing. During that backswing, can you avoid tensing your arm at the moment of contact? If your arm is tense at contact, your fingers can't do their job to create friction. As I swing forward and meet the ball, my arm must stay relaxed. This is the moment to give your fingers time. The fingers make contact and grip the ball. Then the arm accelerates. I know many of you will say that's impossible. But after you've practiced enough, you'll understand what I mean. We tend to use full force at the moment of contact, which makes the friction ineffective. I'll do 2 shots. See if you can spot the difference. Here's the first, and here's the second. At the moment of friction, which shot used arm force? The first or the second? The first shot used arm force. If the incoming ball is spinny and I use arm force while trying to brush it, I'll fail to grip the ball. Because the ball is spinning, if I use arm force and finger force simultaneously, the arm overpowers the fingers. At contact, you can't get friction, and the arm just pushes the ball straight out. Now the second way, against the same heavy spin. This is using finger-generated friction. Especially against backspin, at the moment of contact, you must ensure your fingers apply force first. And then the arm follows through with power. Don't let your arm rush to apply force at contact. If you do, there's no time for friction. That initial arm force is just colliding with the ball. Same for the backhand. After my backswing, the contact feels just like this. After my fingers have done their work, then I apply arm power. A powerful loop may look like it's 100% force through the whole motion, but it's not. We have a clear sequence. I must first use a small amount of friction to grip and control the ball. Once I feel the ball is under my control, the arc is established, and the backspin is overcome, only then do I use my arm for power. The very first instant of contact is all about the fingers making a solid connection. As you swing forward to meet the ball, you must first catch the ball with friction before driving it forward. There are 2 distinct feelings and 2 tasks within this one motion. It's definitely not about using full force through the entire swing, nor is it about just brushing the ball for a high, slow loop. Honestly, every single ball I hit involves friction, because friction is what allows me to attack with power and still land the ball. Let me teach you one more way to feel how to grip the ball. I'll use my forehand to demonstrate since the backhand blocks the view. Take your normal backswing, and now you're about to contact the ball. Watch my fingers right here. I'm making a brushing motion with my fingers. Imagine your fingers are tracing an arc on the ball's surface, from this point to this point. You're following the curve of the ball. Just this tiny action from the fingers is enough to generate spin. I take my normal backswing, and I just let my fingers trace that arc on the ball. I cannot miss this shot. As soon as your fingers complete that arc, your arm immediately follows through. And that's how the loop's trajectory is created. After the initial contact, your motion is not a right angle forward or up. Let your fingers trace a small arc along the surface of the ball at contact. This will guide the racket and generate friction. It's the same for the backhand. First, lift and brush the ball. Then, follow through with arm power. Our old way was to go straight forward or straight up, without wrapping the ball. Use your fingers to create the arc, and use your arm to drive forward. That's your loop. Fingers create the arc. The arm drives forward. The key is that the finger-generated arc comes first. Then the body's power drives forward.